Hey everybody, and welcome back to The Creative Collector, where I am not one of your relatives, but I do have a super cool video for you today. So today's model is Supergirl from Shadaloo Studios Patreon. I will have a link below in the description where you can go check those guys out. They got some amazing pinup models, female sculpts, and all kinds of neat stuff over there. So I wanted to do another female sculpt, and I didn't want something too voluptuous and a little bit skanky or over the top, and these guys definitely do some really cool models that's not too overboard. So if you're looking for something that you can display in your house, then they got some stuff over there, and they got some naughty stuff. So either way, go over, check them out. The link is below in the description. And believe it or not, I actually printed this in a smaller 1/6 scale, which is a little different than the usual quarter scale that I print stuff in. But this one turned out really, really nice. I was excited to print it and paint it. So let's go ahead and check it out. So here are the pieces of the model that are already printed and pretty much prepped. Everything's sanded, and I fit everything together. I did have to cut off some keys because some of them just didn't fit right, and that's okay because I typically do that in my models anyway. The one good thing about this model is it does give you two different styles of heads. You can have one that's already printed with the hair, and you also have one where hair can be added secondary. This is great for painters, and this is the one I'm actually going to go with here. And I do like how the torso is actually separated from the body, so you can actually print this on a skin tone level by itself compared to this right here, where you can print this just to all blue and do the insignia here. And yeah, and then the crystals are all separate from the base. The base is a two-part. So Shadaloo really did a good job in keying this all together. Some of the keys didn't fit right, but that's, you know, neither here nor there. But I'm going to go ahead and get this in primer, and we're going to get started on it right now. So I'm going to be using this right here for anything that I'm going to use a skin tone on. This just actually, this primer actually just enhances the coat of paint that's over the top of it, and it just seems like it just gives it a little bit more depth into the skin tone. So we're going to start off with this right here and doing the head and the torso and the legs, and I think that's it. And don't forget, always a good idea to dust off any of your parts before you start putting them in primer. Get all that dust off of there, brush them off with a good type of cosmetic brush or a large brush like this. And these alligator clips are perfect for holding things whenever you're priming and painting. So I had a little problem with this head right here. The primer, for some reason, really didn't want to stick. It kept bubbling up around the edges right here. So it's a good thing that I printed the other head, and I printed it in black primer just to see if maybe it was the primer it was the issue, but that didn't really work. So I went ahead and I primed this head right here. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe strip this other one just to see, but at least I have a backup here. So had a little problem with the primer, and now we got to fix that, but I think we'll be good. All right, so we got the other primer on there now, and the next thing we're going to do is start blocking out the skin tones. So for the upper torso, I'm going to use this gunmetal blue. And for the cape and the bottom skirt, we're going to use this bold red here from Pro Acryl. And we have the boots. And the base bottom is going to be pretty simple. It's going to be this gunmetal gray right here. And then we're going to do this part of the base with this medium sea gray here as the main color. Now for these little crystal pieces here, I'm going to paint these a glossy black. And then what I'm going to do next to them after that is going to be a little bit of a surprise. Check it out. So now we're going to take a little bit of that black and start doing a little bit of detailing on the base here with the airbrush. And now we're going to do a little bit of shadowing on the cape. And a little shadowing on the boots. And now for the rock base, I'm going to go ahead and put a black wash all over it. So now we're going to work on the skin tones a little bit, and we're going to use some of this advanced flesh tone from Pro Acryl. Now I'm going to take some of this, I'm going to do a little bit of bronzing into the shadows here a little bit, and then I'll come back in with another little bit of a lighter shade of the skin tone to highlight that, and we should be good. So now it's time to go ahead and hand paint the skirt on here, that same Pro Acryl red right here. So after a few coats of the red, about 3 coats, I've got it all covered up. Now I'm going to take this Pan Pastels right here, this black, and I'm going to go ahead and do some shading with this into the crack areas, the contour areas, and bring out a little bit of depth into this so it doesn't look all one-dimensional. And then what we're going to do is paint the trim up here, this gold that I usually like. And this part will pretty much be done, and we'll add the boots and paint the trim on the boots as well. So the way you apply this stuff is very simple. I just take the lid off. You might want to get some gloves or some mat or something, because this stuff does tend to get everywhere. And so what I generally do is I just get a little bit on my brush here, and then I just kind of know where I want to put it. And then you kind of blow it off a little bit. Now you can blend it a little bit if you want to, but just keep in mind this stuff tends to go everywhere. If you're not careful, it'll get all over your model. It's a good idea to actually seal this before you do it. I did not seal it because I pretty much know where I'm going with this. But yeah, just apply it to the areas. Try not to get it everywhere. And then once you get done with this, you should be good to seal the model. So I wasn't happy with the gold from Pro Acryl, so I'm going to go back to this liquid leaf here that I use pretty much in all of my models. This stuff right here is basically a 1 coat sort of coverage, and it just goes on just amazing. So we're going to use this instead. So yeah, this is a rich gold here. It just goes on so well, and you don't have to mix it, thin it out, or anything like that. It just goes on straight out of the bottle. And now I am going to go ahead and paint the S insignia on the front of the chest. So I forgot when painting this red, I had this gold insignia here that I had to do first. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint it, and I'm just gonna have to do the red back all over again. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of the gold trim on the upper torso. And after a little cleanup, and once all the gold is on there, this is what the upper torso looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and add the stomach part to it, and add it to the lower bottom, the legs, and the boots. We're starting to put this thing together now. Now on this part of the base, we're going to do some dry brushing with this bright neutral gray. And now we have these crystal pieces here. I've already primered and painted them in a gloss black. And the next thing I'm going to use is I am going to use some graphite powder. We're going to go ahead and cover these in graphite powder, get them real shimmery, and it's going to look pretty good. And remember, when you use this stuff, have you plenty of good clean space somewhere that you don't want to get this stuff all over. Wear some gloves and use an old brush, because this stuff is very fine and it does tend to get all over the place. Make sure you don't have any other things around it that you don't want to get this on. And then once I get it coated on there really good, I just take a cotton ball and start buffing it out a little bit and get a really good shine on it. And then once you have a good shine on it, there's no need to seal it or anything like that, and it's ready to go on. And now the next thing we're going to do with a fresh pair of gloves is put all of the crystal pieces on here. We're going to glue them in place, and the base will be pretty much done. And once the base is all together, it looks just like this. I think that turned out pretty cool. The graphite gives it a really nice shimmery effect without going over the top. I don't think that paint can necessarily get this effect. So whenever we have it under light or whatever, it's just going to give like just a good natural reflection. And that's what I was looking for. And now with the hair, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a light brown wash over it and do the same color dry brushing back over to bring out the highlights. And this right here will just kind of give it some depth, and it's going to look pretty cool when done. And we're starting on the portrait now. So now that we got everything else done, one of the main last things that we're going to do is to paint the face. We're gonna go ahead and paint the eyes, the lips, and the eyebrows. And I'm gonna do a couple of things different than what I normally do. So pay attention and let's go for it. All right, that is it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're looking for a very cool Patreon to be part of, don't forget about my Patreon. Also, that link is below in the description. We just got some killer models lined up for Franktober. October is now Franktober. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you need to go over and check it out right now. And don't forget to go over and check out Shadaloo Studios so you can see Supergirl and a lot of other models that they're putting out right now, some top quality stuff. And I do want to thank my Patreon members as well. Without them, couldn't make these videos, couldn't make the models. They are tremendous supporters. And again, if you're looking for a killer Patreon, we're doing some really nice models for the $10 tier. Go over and check them out right now. Be part of the Patreon. And as always, everybody, stay safe out there. Don't forget, print, prep, paint, repeat. And until the next video, we'll see you. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Supergirl. And speaking of Patreon, this is one from my Patreon. This is Grifter from Wildcats. Go over and check him out. Video coming soon. Ooh, such a nice model.